During Dad's memorial, my husband whispered, "I've locked you out of our accounts. Behave or else." I just smiled and said, "Check your phone." He nearly fainted when he saw the notification from the bank. The morning of Dad's memorial service dawned gray and cold, matching my mood perfectly. I stood in front of my closet, trying to decide which black dress would be appropriate, when my husband Derek's voice cut through the silence. "The blue one makes you look fat. Wear the black sheath. It's more appropriate." His tone carried that edge of criticism I'd grown too familiar with over our 5-year marriage. I'm Julia Anderson, 34, and until 6 months ago, I'd been the dutiful wife Derek thought he'd married. The quiet software engineer who let him manage our finances, who smiled at his jokes about my appearance, who played the perfect corporate wife at his law firm's events. But Dad's final words to me had changed everything. "Jules," Dad had whispered from his hospital bed, "promise me you'll look in the blue box in my study. Promise me you'll take care of yourself." Those were his last words, and they'd set in motion events that Derek never saw coming. I chose the blue dress deliberately, ignoring Derek's scowl. Let him think I was being defiant about something small. He had no idea what was really coming. "We need to leave in 20 minutes, Derek announced, checking his Rolex. The one he'd bought himself using our joint account, without discussing it. "And remember, when people ask about the inheritance, we stick to the story. Your father's medical bills ate up most of his estate." I nodded, feeling the weight of my phone in my purse. The phone with the banking app that would soon shatter Derek's illusions of control. The memorial service was being held at Dad's favorite country club, where he'd spent countless Sundays playing golf and making the connections that had built his technology empire. An empire that, according to Derek, had crumbled under the weight of medical expenses and bad investments. If only he knew what was in that blue box. "Julia, darling." My Aunt Margaret hurried over as we entered the club's main hall. "How are you holding up? And where's the money your father promised for my new business venture?" Before I could respond, Derek smoothly stepped in. "I'm handling all the financial matters now, Margaret. Unfortunately, there isn't much left after the medical bills." I watched him work the room, spreading his carefully crafted story. Poor Julia's father, such a shame about the failed investments. Thank goodness, she has a successful husband to take care of her now. I made my way to the ladies' room, needing a moment alone. In my purse, my phone buzzed with another notification from the bank. I smiled, knowing what it meant. The transfers Dad had set up were continuing right on schedule. 6 months ago, when I'd finally opened that blue box in Dad's study, I'd found more than just documents. I'd found the truth about my father's empire, about the secret accounts he'd established, and about the plan he'd put in place to protect me from exactly the kind of man Derek was proving himself to be. The box had contained a letter, written in Dad's precise hand. "My dearest Jules, if you're reading this, I'm gone. But I'm not leaving you unprotected. I've watched Derek these past few years, seen how he tries to control you through money. It's my fault. I taught you to be too trusting, too willing to let others handle the financial side of life. But you're my daughter, and you inherited more than just my eyes. You have my mind for business, even if you don't know it yet. The enclosed documents will show you everything. The offshore accounts, the tech patents, the real estate holdings. All in your name, all hidden from public record. Most importantly, you'll find instructions for accessing the Trust One setup. Derek's name isn't on any of it. He can't touch it. Can't even know it exists until you're ready to show him. Take your time. Learn. Grow stronger. And when the moment comes to stand up for yourself, remember, you're an Anderson. We don't bow to bullies, even ones who wear wedding rings. Love, Dad." The documents had revealed the truth. Dad's empire hadn't crumbled. He'd simply made it invisible, transferring everything into hidden accounts and shell corporations, all controlled by a trust in my name. The medical bills that had supposedly drained his estate, paid in full by his excellent insurance. The failed investments Derek kept talking about, actually yielding impressive returns, safely stored in accounts Derek knew nothing about. I'd spent the past 6 months learning everything I could about finance and business law. Late at night, while Derek slept, I'd studied the empire Dad had built. I'd taken online courses in business management, learned about international banking, and slowly begun to understand the magnitude of what Dad had left me. Now, standing in the country club bathroom, I checked my phone again. The notification showed another substantial transfer had been completed. Right on schedule. Derek was waiting outside the bathroom, his face tight with barely contained anger. "Your Aunt Margaret is asking too many questions," he hissed. "I thought we agreed to stick to the story." "Did we?" I asked mildly. "I don't remember agreeing to anything." His hand gripped my arm, fingers digging in painfully. "Don't start this now. Not at your father's memorial." "Start what, Derek?" "Questions about where Dad's money really went." His face darkened. "I've had enough of your attitude. Consider this a warning. I've changed all the passwords to our accounts. Until you learn to behave appropriately, you'll have to ask me for spending money. Like a child, since you're acting like one." I felt a strange calm settle over me. This was it, the moment Dad had prepared me for. I watched Derek pull out his phone, probably to show me he'd already locked me out of our joint accounts. "Check your banking app," I said quietly. "What?" "Check it." "I'll wait." Derek's fingers moved across his screen, his face transitioning from annoyance to confusion to shock. Because at that very moment, according to my carefully timed instructions, exactly half of our joint accounts, my half, was being transferred out. But that was just the beginning. Dad had taught me well. Timing is everything. And Derek had no idea what was coming next. Derek's face had turned an interesting shade of purple as he stared at his phone. What did you do?" he sputtered, frantically refreshing the banking app. "I took what's mine," I replied calmly. "Half of our joint accounts. That's fair, isn't it?" "Fair." His voice rose, drawing attention from nearby guests. "You can't just, I'll call the bank. I'll stop this transfer." I smiled, thinking of all those late nights spent learning about banking laws and account regulations. "The transfer is already complete, Derek. And it's perfectly legal. I have just as much right to those funds as you do." But that wasn't what made him nearly faint. No, that came when the next notification hit his phone. "Mr. Derek Thompson," the message read. "This is a courtesy notification that your position as authorized user on the following Anderson Technology Holdings accounts has been terminated, effective immediately." "Anderson Technology Holdings?" he whispered, his legal mind finally starting to piece things together. "But your father's company was bankrupt." "Was it?" I pulled out a folder from my purse, a copy of what had been in Dad's blue box. "Maybe you should have asked more questions instead of just assuming you knew everything." Derek grabbed the folder, his hands shaking as he opened it. Inside were statements from multiple offshore accounts, property deeds, patent rights, and most importantly, the trust documents naming me as the sole beneficiary of Anderson Technology Holdings, a company that was very much alive and thriving. "This is impossible," he muttered. "The medical bills, the failed investments, were a story," I finished for him. "A story you were very eager to believe and spread around. Did you ever actually see any of those bills, Derek? Or did you just take control of the accounts because you assumed Dad had left us nothing?" His lawyer's instincts kicked in. "These documents could be fake. I'll have them verified." "Go ahead," I interrupted. "In fact, why don't you call Harrison and Mitchell? They handled all the paperwork." Derek's face went pale. Harrison and Mitchell was the most prestigious law firm in the city, and his firm's biggest competitor. "You've been working with them?" "Dad did," I corrected. "For years. Setting this up, making sure everything was legally airtight. He knew exactly what kind of man you were, Derek. He just wanted me to figure it out for myself." Around us, the memorial service continued. Guests shared stories about Dad, unknowingly celebrating the very genius that had orchestrated this moment. I saw Aunt Margaret watching us curiously, probably wondering why Derek looked like he was about to pass out. "If you're thinking of challenging this legally," I added quietly, "you should know that Dad left a video statement with Harrison and Mitchell detailing every attempt you made to access his accounts during his illness. Every investment opportunity you tried to push on him. Every time you suggested he change his will. Derek's hands clenched into fists. You've been planning this? All these months while I thought you were just your quiet, submissive wife? Taking your criticism, letting you control all our money, watching you buy yourself expensive toys while questioning every dollar I spent. I allowed myself a small, satisfied smile. I was learning, Derek. Everything about business, banking, investment law. Dad left me more than money. He left me his wisdom. And the time to use it. Just then, Derek's phone buzzed again. Another notification from the bank. His eyes widened as he read it. The house, the cars, are in my name, I finished. Always have been. Dad's wedding gift to us, remember? You were so busy looking at the assets you could control, you never bothered to check the property titles. You can't do this to me, he hissed, grabbing my arm again. I'm your husband. Remove your hand, I said clearly, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. Unless you want to add assault charges to your growing list of problems. He let go as if burned, suddenly aware of the watching eyes. His carefully cultivated image of the successful, controlling husband was crumbling, and he knew it. We can talk about this, he said, trying to regain his composure. Work something out. Oh, we will, I assured him. But first, there's something else you should see. Dad left one more surprise, something even I just discovered this morning. I pulled out my phone, opening an email I'd received just hours before the memorial service. It was from Dad's old friend and business partner, Thomas Chun, with a subject line that had made me both laugh and cry. Your father's last chess move. Derek leaned in to read it, and I watched as the last of his arrogant confidence drained from his face. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't just about money. It's about justice. And Dad, brilliant strategist that he was, had saved his most devastating move for last. The email from Thomas Chun was short but devastating. Dear Julia, as per your father's instructions, this email is being sent during his memorial service. The attached documents show that Derek Thompson, while acting as your father's informal financial advisor during his illness, attempted to embezzle funds from Anderson Technology Holdings through a series of fraudulent investment schemes. Your father documented everything. The evidence has already been submitted to the SEC and the State Bar Association. Your father wanted you to know that the king is about to fall. Checkmate. Best regards. Thomas Chun. Derek swayed on his feet as he finished reading. He knew. Dad knew everything, I confirmed. Every fake investment proposal you created. Every attempt to transfer his money into accounts you controlled. He played along, letting you think you were succeeding, while documenting every move you made. Those proposals weren't illegal, Derek protested weakly. Just aggressive investment strategies. Tell that to the Bar Association, I replied. I'm sure they'll be very interested in how a lawyer created fraudulent documents to try to steal from his dying father-in-law. The memorial service was winding down around us. Guests were starting to leave, offering final condolences. If they noticed Derek's ashen face or trembling hands, they were too polite to mention it. I'll lose my license, he whispered. The firm will. Drop you immediately, I finished. Dad knew that too. He knew the only thing you cared about more than money was your reputation. That's why he waited until today, during his memorial service, to spring the trap. Aunt Margaret approached us, her eyes sharp with curiosity. Julia, dear, is everything all right? Derek looks unwell. He just received some unexpected news, I explained smoothly. About Dad's real legacy. Margaret's eyes narrowed. Understanding dawned on her face. She'd always been Dad's favorite sister, and something told me she'd known about his plan all along. Ah, she said, a small smile playing at her lips. Robert always did love a good chess game. Derek stumbled away, presumably to call his law firm. He'd need to explain why the State Bar Association was about to receive evidence of his attempted fraud. But his problems were just beginning. I pulled out one final document from my purse, divorce papers, prepared months ago by Harrison and Mitchell. Your signature is required, I told him when he returned. Unless you'd prefer the Bar Association receives these documents as well. I gestured to my phone, where Thomas Chen's email still glowed. You planned all of this, Derek accused, his voice breaking. You and your father. No, I corrected him. Dad planned it. I just learned from him. You see, he taught me one final lesson. Sometimes justice requires patience. Derek's hands shook as he signed the papers. His carefully constructed world was crumbling, and we both knew it. By tomorrow, his law firm would ask for his resignation. Within a week, the Bar Association would begin their investigation. His reputation in the legal community would be ruined. As he turned to leave, I called after him. Oh, and Derek? The passwords to our accounts? I changed them back. But don't bother checking. There's nothing left in them anyway. Later that evening, I sat in Dad's study, now my study, in our family home. The blue box sat open on his desk, empty now of its secrets but full of memories. On the wall, Dad's favorite chess board hung in its usual place, the pieces arranged in his final winning game. My phone buzzed with messages from Derek's law firm, confirming they'd received notice of the Bar Association investigation. Another message from Harrison and Mitchell confirmed the divorce papers had been filed. Everything was proceeding exactly as Dad had planned. Aunt Margaret stopped by, bringing Dad's favorite scotch. He would have been proud, she said, pouring us each a glass. Not just of the plan, but of how you handled it. I learned from the best, I replied, raising my glass in a toast. You know, Margaret mused. Your father started planning this the day Derek first suggested taking control of your joint accounts. He saw the pattern immediately. He'd seen it before in his business dealings. People who use money to control others. I nodded, remembering all the little ways Derek had tried to control me through our finances. The criticism of my spending, the constant monitoring of accounts, the way he'd made me feel guilty for every purchase. But Dad didn't just want to stop Derek, I realized. He wanted to teach me to stand up for myself. Exactly, Margaret smiled. The money, the companies, the trust, those were just tools. The real inheritance was the confidence to use them. Over the next few weeks, everything fell into place. Derek's law firm asked for his immediate resignation. The Bar Association launched a formal investigation. Our divorce was finalized in record time, given the circumstances. I took control of Anderson Technology Holdings, discovering that I had a natural talent for business that would have made Dad proud. The company flourished under my leadership, expanding into new markets and technologies. 6 months later, I received a final email from Thomas Chen. Dear Julia, your father asked me to send you one last message, exactly 6 months after the memorial service. He wrote it the day he finalized his plan. My dearest Jules, if you're reading this, then everything went according to plan. Derek is gone, the company is yours, and most importantly, you've discovered your own strength. Remember this feeling. Remember that you are an Anderson, and Andersons don't just play chess. We win. I love you, and I'm proud of you. Dad. P.S. Check the chessboard in my study. The final move was always meant to be yours. I walked to the chessboard on the wall, finally understanding. The game wasn't quite finished. The queen was positioned to make the winning move. Dad had left the final piece for me to play. With a smile, I moved the queen into position. Checkmate. Derek's last attempt to contact me came in the form of a letter, begging for help with his legal troubles. I sent back a simple response, a photo of the chessboard, showing the queen's final move. He would understand the message. The quiet, controlled wife he thought he'd married had turned out to be the most powerful piece on the board. Just as Dad had planned all along. Sitting in my office at Anderson Technology Holdings, looking out over the city, I thought about how far I'd come. From the woman who let her husband control every aspect of her finances to the CEO of a thriving technology company. Dad's legacy wasn't just the money or the business. It was the wisdom to know when to wait, when to learn, and when to make your move. As for Derek, last I heard, he'd moved to another state, trying to rebuild his shattered reputation. But his story served as a warning in legal circles. Never underestimate a quiet wife with a clever father. And me? I kept Dad's blue box on my desk, empty now but serving as a reminder. A reminder that sometimes the best revenge isn't about money or power. It's about justice served patiently, precisely, and with perfect timing. Just like a well-played game of chess.